Greetings, fellow mayors. This is Captain Obvious, and welcome back to Noyou Port City, a narrative gameplay experience. In the previous episode, we developed a large area in the city, but not without consequence. We are able to maintain a 90% traffic flow. However, let's not feel too comfortable with a false sense of security. And looking at this, you can see that this is kind of red, or actually it is pretty bright red, regardless of the fact that it says 91%. So whenever you expand and grow your city, it is expected for traffic to become worse. And in this case, you can see that the traffic is definitely generating in this area. But if you planned your city correctly, we will not need to panic. We will not need to start converting this into a roundabout or perhaps create a tunnel to bypass traffic. These are all, by the way, valid options to help reduce traffic. So let us demonstrate why the captain does not panic and how he plans ahead. So if we look at this again, I created this bridge. And my intention is to connect it to the other side of this canal. However, we need 50,000 population for the next milestone to unlock this tile. But for this demonstration, I activated the unlock all progression, and we are going to connect our roads together and finally connect our highways. Okay, so again, please don't mind the layout. We just want to see if this would actually work, and all the traffic will start to dissipate. So you can still see some cars are still choosing to go this route. But now that we have this open, they will start distributing themselves going into this direction. So let's look at this again. Give it some time. So you can see it's actually reducing from here. The traffic was all the way up there for the meantime, and now look at that, it's all gone. We didn't need to do anything drastic. There was no traffic manager, no nothing. All we did was just simply plan ahead on just connecting this, and I had this planned from the very beginning. So this is why this highway was made from basically about midway of this city build. So that is a very simple demonstration on how to fix traffic, which is just simple planning. Okay, so before we go any further, I just want to make sure that no one is confused on what is going on. I reloaded the game with no progression unlock mod, so this is why this is again locked. And what I did was I extended this train line and created our bridge here, then developed and filled in this space. And now we are back to creating our road network along the train line. To make it easier for our buses to cross the avenue, I decided to convert the road to a European 2-lane stone bridge. And since the road now goes directly to the other side, we will need a new road to enter this district. We can now continue to zone offices by the collector or avenue road. We do not zone commercial, for it causes tiny traffic hiccups by trucks delivering goods that eventually add up over time. And of course, we also do not zone residential due to noise pollution from the collector roads. Therefore, offices are the logical choice. We have our signature line of trees by the avenue, so let's take it a step further and have a line of trees along the tracks. We, after all, follow the philosophy of we do not build roads, we create a journey in this channel. By the train tracks, I also decided to zone the generic high-density residential, which would look neat as we travel by train. Alright, let's take a closer look at this bridge, which is extremely awesome. You could already imagine the ferries going underneath there. But there is something that we need to do or adjust. So if you zoom out, you notice that it is extremely straight, and I really don't like that. That's not really my style. I try to curve roads as much as possible. For instance, this curves ever so slightly. Even just that slight curve would make it look more organic. So this one is is straight because it has to go, or it has to align with this, and I'm using the wall-to-wall building, so it goes straight for as long as possible, then it curves. So if you check out the other roads as well, this one slightly curves, hence why there's like tiny spaces in between. Only bridges for roads is what I try to make straight. Other than that, everything will have to curve unless it's a rail track. So rails should go straight for as long as possible. So let's look at this, and I want to curve this where it makes sense. So for instance, this should definitely be straight because this is the bridge part, and this is where other roads will go underneath. But here is not really necessary. So let's go ahead and curve, or yeah, curve this road and make it go slightly in a different direction. Okay, this one looks like it works. We just need to slightly adjust this so there's some clearing for vehicles to go underneath, but otherwise it looks pretty neat. We could actually increase this ever so slightly, then use the slope. I actually don't have node controller active, which I should. It's just that there are like issues with loading the game, and I never went around to fix it. So anyway, on this side, this one also works. We could also curve this where it makes sense. So this should actually be flat. And here is where we can curve the road ever so slightly. And there we go. That makes a huge difference in the long run. Now let's go ahead and continue this as well, or actually I could start making our straight road. So if we want to align this to make something really neat, let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to start, let's say here. Actually, I think it's possible to measure our roads so that we get the right like space that we need. So I am going to use this. So I want to make sure that there's space for all our buildings, and then another space in between. Okay, so this is our guide. And now what I want to do is I want to use I want to create a monorail, and it's, yeah, so we're introducing a new transportation type. So the neat thing about a monorail is it's actually low enough for one of the new plazas to be added. So let's use that new plaza. Oops, that wasn't straight, but look at that. That is so cool. So it's got a glass roof on it, so that's a really neat combination. However, this is not what I want to use, because so we've set up our road network, right? And the next thing that you should be planning is your transportation. So this yeah, the monorail is correct, and this, we intended this to be our bus route. So it starts from here, it goes there, and then it's gonna go this way, and then eventually it's going to loop back around. So we need a bus station, and there's actually a bus station with monorail, which is rarely used, so we're gonna use them again. So this guy has barely been used. I don't see this being used by anyone for quite some time. Well, there we go, look at that. So we got a really neat plaza that's going to happen here, and then we have our bus. So all we need to do is just connect them all together. All right, let's make sure we're using the right road. So I'm going to be using this. Oh, actually, this is the wrong one. Now we just need to connect these guys together. It almost seems like it's going to be a straight road. Okay, so there's a reason why I made this into an angle. That is because we are going to be using the monorail track. Oh, that's going to be so cool when our monorail passes underneath here, and then we're going to have our downtown buildings. And this, oh, actually, this is wrong. And of course, we need to add a bridge. So let's go ahead and make that. Okay, so here is our bridge, but you notice this seems a little awkward. As much as possible, we want the pillars to be exactly on top of the land right here, so it doesn't go on the water. And so I'm gonna make that adjustment since we haven't actually developed our area. So that's why it's important to fix your road network first before actually finalizing your keys and your development. Okay, that is good for now. We are not going to concentrate on this side, but this should go align perfectly with this pillar as well. So we're gonna have a wide space here. So let's go ahead and continue the inner part of our downtown. Okay, so looking at this again, this I do not like. I do not like the small space here. So what will happen is vehicles will stop here, and it will only look like there's up to 5 vehicles that can stop, and that will actually cause traffic. So try to avoid having these tiny roads. So instead, we are going to expand this or make it go down on this area. Okay, now this I feel much more comfortable with. The distance is should be good enough. And let's go ahead and fix the slope. Alright, so now I'm just going to create my road network within. It doesn't really matter at this point. You just have to kind of imagine like the spacing you want for your zone areas and your large buildings. Since we are in a compact space, I will be mostly creating square blocks with a few curves. So in other words, the downtown area will be mostly grid, which makes sense. Also try to notice how the blocks are not too small, or rather there are large gaps between the blocks. Therefore, we have less intersections, which ultimately equals to less traffic. Okay, roads are good. Now let's go ahead and add in our tallest vanilla buildings and scatter them around. They don't necessarily have to be clustered together. Alright, so we have our road layout, we have our buildings. So you're gonna have to try to imagine when you're coming here, these are the first things that you see. So we got the needle, and they are spaced apart so you could see each one individually. But we will also have high-rise buildings around here so that, you know, it's just not these guys. But we're gonna try to still isolate them where when you view or pass through this area, you could focus on each structure. So with that said, now it's a matter of zoning this area properly. So for instance, if on this side, you notice this is the local and organic produce zone. So these are the very, very low-rise buildings. And then on the next or across the street, I'm using the wall-to-wall buildings, which is more of mid-rise. So you really need to understand the height of the buildings. So for instance, this one, I have mid-rise buildings here, but not here in the middle. The reason why is I want these schools to be prominent, and if these mid-rise buildings were also zoned in this area, they would just get mixed in, and you won't really notice them as much. I mean, right now they still kind of blend in, but not as much due to the low-rise local and organic produce. So same thing, same practice that we are going to do here. I am going to make the I guess this road on this side will be the local and organic, and then we're going to work our way up with mid-rise to eventually the regular high-rise buildings. It's actually going to be quite difficult to explain my district areas, so it is probably best that we just go back to it a little later. But it's mostly self-explanatory once you see the buildings constructed. Before zoning, let's add in our walking paths to help fill in the space between the large gaps. And walking paths always makes the area look much better. Okay, so regarding zoning, we have to be careful on where we zone our high density residential buildings, for they cannot be too close to the high density commercial areas. So we will need we will need office zoning to pad the noise pollution from the commercial structures. Also notice how I do not zone the residential buildings near our monorail bus hub, which generates massive noise pollution. It will take some time, but the high density residential will eventually reach their max level and will be near the same height as the unique structures. So for the meantime, the unique buildings will be extremely dominant in appearance until the other zone buildings can catch up in height. Nevertheless, what is most important is that we still keep in mind of city management to make sure that Sims are not complaining and that there is no traffic. And I literally just said no traffic, and yet the game that decides to embarrass me with this horrendous backup. Let's see how far it goes. So it goes from here all the way over there. Yet we are not panicking because we know the solution for this. Let's actually check the traffic flow. We are at 82, which is the lowest I've had in quite a long while. And we of course know why they're going here and how to fix it. So once we unlock this, so we have just about 1k left, and then we are able to unlock this tile. All we need is to connect it here, connect these guys together, connect that there. But that doesn't mean that isn't anything that we can do to help kind of slow this down a bit. So we also have this thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a temporary route, but it should really help with the traffic. So the idea of this, so again, it's about network, right? So people are going through here and they only have this path to enter through there. But now, since we have this, see, this is exactly why we have this bridge. They can now take this route. And we are also going to connect these together, which is the intention for this. And there you go. We got some vehicles taking this route. Let's make sure to turn off those traffic lights. And here, let's see, what can we do to help kind of ease the traffic here? So you can see from this side, there are vehicles that want to take this route simply because there are two ways to enter or to access this highway. You got this and we got this. So in a sense, creating this created a problem. However, we could use this as a different method. So for example, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to delete this, and the idea for this entrance way is going to be just for this kind of area. So if they want to go through here, they really have to take this one. So this one will just accommodate this area. So at least it kind of divides the number of vehicles in order to take just this route. So what do we do with this one? What I am going to do is we are going to convert this into pedestrian streets so that only service vehicles will be able to enter. Okay, so since I updated this, you can see it really started to ease up on the traffic here. And then this one, let's see if there's anything else we can do. So here's another issue. So these guys, some of these guys want to take this route entering here. We could change the direction of that. So instead, we could make them go up here and then go over to the bridge. Okay, now let's check the flow. So now it's moving more smoothly, and they're taking this route, entering here, going around in order to access this area. So at least it's moving much more smoothly than before. Okay, so is there anything else we can do to help reduce traffic? This thing here, let's see. Actually, this seems pretty clean. No issue. I guess it's already dissipating even without this tile. But speaking of this one, so I mentioned, so this highway will be catering to everyone in this area. And this, my idea here is we're going to create another interchange here. And this is how these guys will access the highway. So I don't want them to go all the way around going here. I want this to be the quickest route for them. Okay, so hey, we're almost 50k. All right. So while we're waiting, I guess it's going to hit before I actually do this. Let's create our pedestrian streets. So I have pedestrian streets here. I'm just going to extend it so I don't create a new one. Oops, and there we are. Now we are a colossal city. But first, let's actually... Whoa, what the heck? Okay, that was not intentional. Okay, let's just fix that. I just needed this little area here. Okay, so this is a pedestrian street here. And this one, we also need parks. This is an amusement park, so that's why it's AP. And I'm just going to expand it towards this side. So parks can share items. So you're not restricted to just the park type. So for example, the plazas of the city park can be used in the zoo areas. Okay, so I updated that. Let's go ahead and update this into a pedestrian street. Wow, just that tiny little space there. And so this is a pedestrian street with a bus because we want this to continue. And let's go ahead and add more items here in order to help the buildings around it upgrade. All right, let's check out what's happening with the traffic. It seems like everything has dissipated. Yep, we're back at 93 from 82, 84. Now we're back at 94. And all we did was just created a connection. That was it. We didn't need to do anything drastic. Fix some roads, pretty much. And yeah, that was it. Okay, so let's go ahead and unlock this tile and connect this together. But so I will need an interchange here and another one here, but we don't have enough time to do that in this episode, so that should be for next one. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use generic interchanges for the meantime, just to connect them together. Okay, I believe that should be it. So we actually didn't 100% needed this, but it does help with the traffic. So it's going to ease up on this one. So vehicles can take this. And so less people or less vehicles will be crossing this bridge. So yeah, so that's why you need multiple bridges in different locations. So they have options, especially when they're on different locations. Well, it seems like we have a tiny hiccup here. Let's go ahead and update the roads. Let's use the one-way, 4-lane, one-way road. So it's going to loop around. Let's make it go upward. All right, so this should really smooth out the direction that they're flowing. And is there anything else we're going to do? Oh, yes, that's right. Let's go ahead and activate or extend our bus line, which we have over here, and we intended this to loop. So let's go ahead and update that. So all I'm gonna do is drag this. This is the bendy bus. I'm gonna drag that one and place another stop here, then drag this. We're gonna take another stop on this side. This is not final, but you know, this is the idea of the routes that I have. And since we removed it, we need to bring it back, and there. So it's gonna take a while for all the buses to emerge, and but overall that is the plan, or the idea of my transportation route. So we have this monorail that will eventually link up to up here, so at least these guys don't really need to drive. They can just take the monorail, and of course we got a train line, so everything is gonna work out together. They're all gonna interconnect. Fellow mayors, this has again been another amazing episode where we developed the downtown of Noyou Port City. We added in a monorail station and extended our bus lines. We also again proved that to fix traffic, you simply need to plan ahead and establish a main road connection with transportation lines. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel and hit that like button. It helps me and other fellow mayors know that this was a great video. Put in a comment or two on what you like about the video, and I will do my best to continue with that vibe throughout future episodes. This is Captain Obvious. Thank you for watching and for choosing to fly with Obvious Airline. Have a great day, and I will see you in the next flight.